Okay, so we're going to start the meeting right now. I'm going to call to order. It's 7:02. I just want to say a welcome everybody to June the 16th, 2020's monthly June APC meeting. Again, this is on Zoom live streaming if anyone in the community is watching. So I just want to introduce you to the meeting. Thank you very much all for coming. And I'm going to pass you on to item 1.2, which is roll call with Councilmember Jones.
Good evening. Welcome. Please respond or hold up your hand after I call your name. And if I can't see you, just respond. Akuri Izimi.
Present.
Okay. Pat Sutherlen.
Here.
Jennifer Lee.
Here.
Dorothy Wong.
Here.
Jeff Simmons.
Here.
Victoria Knapp.
Present.
Billy Malone.
Present.
Aaron Cheetah.
Here.
Dr. Sandra Thomas.
Present.
Gloria Sanika.
Here.
Antonio Becerra.
Present.
Nick Santangelo.
Present.
Reginald Wilkins. Reggie's not here. Sylvia Vega.
Here.
Diane Markison.
I'm here, and Officer Cooper said he was just gonna try to dial in.
Okay. Okay, so we have a quorum with 15.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on, item 1.3, approval of the June 16th meeting agenda. Councilmember Sutherland.
Oops. Okay, the Executive Committee met on June the 9th and approved the agenda as presented. Since then, there have been the following requests for changes. I think it's only one. Yes, the presenter for Map Your Neighborhood is Sharon Collins, who is in the middle of dialing in right now. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda as presented?
I just want to make sure that we have Sharon's contact information so the moderator will recognize her when she tries to get into the meeting. So
yes, I gave that earlier, before you joined, I think.
okay, awesome. Thank you.
No changes or corrections? Okay.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
In that case, I move to accept the agenda as amended.
I'll second the motion, Sandra Thomas.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
those opposed say nay. Dr. Thomas, was that a nay or a yay?
I'm a yay.
Okay. Any abstentions? So moved. And I believe that was unanimous. Okay, moving on. Item 2.1 was officers' report, which start with me, the chairman's report. I just want to say is that, you know, one of the biggest things we always hear growing up is think globally, but act locally. And, you know, right now with the current dialogue nationally that we have, it's important that in Altadena, we act locally. And I want to say that the town council members, everybody here had input, and we released in the beginning of June the town council public statement on racial injustice, and pretty much, which we should be very proud of, and pretty much every group in town, everything from the library to the Chamber of Commerce, also issued a statement. We've also had many well-organized protests and marches been happening around town up till now. And I want to say that we may be a small town, that most people don't, you know, maybe even know us. But we have a voice, and I'm glad that we're using it, and we should always use it. So I'm very proud of us here that we don't just sit back and that we try to make sure that our voices are heard. So that goes out to the whole community. Thank you for continuing in making our little town's voice be heard on a national scale. The next thing I want to move on is that we will get updates, I'm sure, a little bit later regarding the sheriff station. Hopefully, looks like we're doing well, and on track to not losing it at the end of June. But that update will also come from Captain Jacobs when she comes online. Okay, so I'm going to move on to item 2.2, Officers Report, Vice Chair, Councilmember Sutherlen. And you are currently muted.
As indicated on the agenda for tonight's meeting, public comment will be heard as item number 7 after committee reports. I have 2 public comments to make when the time comes. And that's all I have to say for tonight.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on. Item 2.3, Recording Secretary, Councilmember Veronica Jones.
Council members, you received the minutes of May for your review and comment. I did receive comments and corrections. I have incorporated them into the minutes, and I am making a motion that we accept the minutes with the corrections and comments that I received.
Second, Curry.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay.
Aye.
Any abstentions?
I abstain. Antonio?
Councilmember Zimi, was that a yay or a nay? Sorry.
No, I say yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'm getting a little bit of a delay on some, so I just want to make sure that we're clear on that so no one's miscommunicated. Okay, so moved.
Okay.
Done. Thank you very much. Okay, item 2.4, Treasurer's Report from Councilmember Lee.
Okay. We are in good standing at $1,988.99. That's my report.
One thing we wanted to try and do during this report was talk about the
Yeah.
possibility of Zoom.
Yes, we would like to purchase a Zoom package so that we can continue for the near future paying for our Zoom meetings instead of going through the library. Correct?
Well, I don't know. The library does offer us for these actual monthly meetings, security and other things, but it's more for for our other committee meetings that we've been having on the side that everyone's been using their private Zoom packages for.
Correct.
With an opportunity for people to actually also use the Zoom meetings for maybe if they have something happening in the census tract for town hall or for any of the committees from film to education can actually use it. So what was proposed at executive committee meeting was that we could, and I have to say, apologies to Councilmember Lee because she was out of town with family issues. So it's not that she's being forgetful. We were trying to update her before the meeting. So it was that we wanted to we actually sent out a request to council ahead of time, putting out the request that this be a proposal from the treasurer that we vote on a 3-month trial period for a Zoom package that we could all use. The cost is about $15 a month. So for 3 months, it's a minimum fee of $45 that council members can use. Would you like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to purchase this 3-month package for Zoom.
Okay.
I second.
All those, any questions before we go to a vote? I did send the package out. I know Jeff had some issues with security.
Yeah, I do. And unless and until we have a qualified administrator to manage the meetings, Chloe, I know, has been trained and is very capable. I'm not aware that we have anybody in the council that's capable, and Zoom has some real issues if you don't control it properly. So at this point, I would just ask if the library would continue to support us until we can get somebody trained to administer it properly.
Just to answer that, it's my understanding that we're not changing the concept of how we're doing our monthly meetings right now. As long as the library has the capacity to host us, that will continue. It's just that several members right now are using their own private Zoom accounts to to actually host the committees where we're talking about, you know, a handful, 3, 4, 5 members at a time. And it's just so that they don't have to pay out of pocket for that, that this is actually a council.
Are those members using it, actually paying out of pocket, or are they using the free service?
No, they're paying out of pocket.
Yeah, and as far as the hacking, I mean, these committee meetings, it's easier to control if you just have a few people. I'm not too worried about the hacking for our use in the council for the committee meeting, so that work can continue, so that people don't have to keep paying for it.
All right, I'm not involved, so I'm not really too worried about myself then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councilmember Robinson?
Yeah, I have concerns as well, and my apologies for not being able to have answered that email, but I'm just wondering if we could take it offline. This is an internal town council thing about how we're going to personally do our meetings, and I wonder if the town council, if it's a town council Zoom, whether that somehow, if it's hacked, causes some liability, the people that are doing it on their own. I don't know. I'd like to know more about how much we're actually using it, who's using it, and, you know, if we could take that offline.
I would certainly endorse that.
Okay. If everyone else is agreement with that, can we agree to that? We'll take this offline.
Can I
And then-
say something?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to say I use Zoom and I pay for it. I had over 60 people at the meeting, and what we're talking about is community issues and community information. It's not anything private or top secret. And
Yeah.
it allows me to meet with Antonio and even 3 other people to plan the meeting. And I think that's what we wanted to use it for, is to make it so that we still stay connected.
Right, I understand. Veronica, I'm not saying, I was not trying to make it sound as if I was talking about people using it for personal reasons in the meantime or whatever. I was saying, well, it's, anyway, I'd like to just take it offline tonight if we could.
And another thing, everything we do is public information.
Yeah, I'm really confused why we need to take anything revolving around spending funds to buy this Zoom package for 3 months offline. This is not rocket science. If you don't want to use it, don't use it. We're talking about publicly hosted meetings that the public would be involved in anyway. So I'm concerned about taking it offline, and 3 months from now, we'll still be discussing whether or not to do it.
Right.
So if you want to take it offline and give us a deadline that we're going to make a decision by, that's great. I'd be for that.
Okay. Can I?
Or don't. I don't want to cause a problem. The tone of your voice is a little concerning. So please just go ahead. I don't need to use it anyway, so I have my own. So just go ahead, do whatever you want to do.
Okay, what I'm going to do is, we have a motion. Go ahead. Councilman Mazzini.
Okay, thank you so much. I do agree that we should, if possible, move forward with this. Zoom is widely used. I do not believe that there is any, if there's any exposure on the council, I really don't see one, because that's what is happening in this day and age. If we need to take it off, perhaps what we should do, there's actually an active motion on the table, so we need to get that motion out in order to take it off. Okay, go ahead.
I would like to end the discussion and move the motion forward. It's been seconded. I would just like to call for the question in the discussion.
Okay. All right. Then moving forward, we can still look in, definitely identify concerns and issues moving forward. I don't want to make anyone's concerns seem irrelevant. Regardless of the vote, I think that we can also look in and try and hopefully get those answers for those council members. Yes. So in the meantime, there is a motion on the floor, so I will go to vote. So all those in favor of purchasing a 3-month Zoom package for the council, those in favor say yay.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many is that?
You're gonna need to count.
Okay, all those opposed, say nay.
Okay.
Okay, and abstentions? So 1 nay, 1 abstention, so moved. Okay. Again, I don't want to make light of the concerns. We still need to continue looking into that.
I had a quick question on the budget. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I heard it was a little over 1,900, or what was the number?
1988.99.
Okay, because usually I always heard that it's above 2,000, and I'm looking at the minutes, and it was reported as 2,156. So I'm just trying to get a general sense of what was spent, $2 to $250 between last meeting and this meeting.
You're on mute, Jennifer, Councilman Lee. You're on mute. There you go.
I got it. We reimbursed a council member for funds, and we always have a monthly fee for GoDaddy. So we do have monthly fees that go out.
Got it.
Mhm.
Thank
And
you.
we're also not taking donations in, which is another
Yeah.
selling point.
That's you're
haven't
sort of
done for
seeing
months.
that we've plateaued, and we're not continuing to go up over that number because we haven't had a meeting in a while. No
Yeah,
donation.
usually with the expenditures, it kind of stays balanced, but
Yeah.
we're not seeing it balanced right now because of the no funding.
Right.
Maybe we can come up with a virtual can at some point.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Councilmember Azimi.
Okay, I think you just answered the question. Is there a way that we can raise some funds? I'll be willing to make a donation as well. I think other people might be willing to make donations. So I start off, I'll make the donation. As a matter of fact, I'll cover the Zoom meeting, whatever that fund is.
I don't know who that is, but we can look into that. And I know you're an accountant, so if you want to look in to see if there's some way that can happen, that could be tied in, whether it be like a Venmo or something that could link into something, and then people can do that if they wish to. And then maybe we can talk with the library to see if that's something that's possible. I don't even know if that's possible.
Yeah, Billy, I think he's saying as we all or many of us do at each meeting, we put our own money in.
Yeah.
And I think what he's saying is he'd be willing to put some money in. I don't think we're in any, unless somebody can report that we're short on funds for something that we are committed to doing, I don't think we're in trouble.
No, not at this moment, I don't think.
Right. So I think we can talk offline about if people want to send money to Jennifer to put into the account, we could do that. I mean, us. We donate every month anyway, I think, or I do anyway.
And
I think that if money is going in and out, that there should be some kind of, I guess, accounting method so that, like when Antonio asked, where did the money, if last month it was 2,000, now there's only 19, so that we kind of know why the budget's fluctuating up and down.
I think that was answered.
Just one quick comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
On the website, I haven't looked at it lately. Is there a donate button on the website?
No, but that is something that I don't know. I don't know. You'd have to look into that because then you might be getting into legality issues because we're not a 501c3, everything else. So I think that we should look into that, but I think we should look into that offline, like Councilmember Marcuson said, because there are some legal issues that we might want to make sure we're not crossing boundaries we shouldn't be crossing.
Thank you.
And I'll be happy to talk with you offline about that, Councilor Zimi, because I know you're an accountant, so you may have some insight that I don't have. Would you be willing to talk offline about looking into that? Okay.
That's right.
All right. So moving on, we're going to now go on to item 2.5, corresponding secretary, Councilmember Wong.
Can you hear me? Hello. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. It is June. Time flies when you're having fun. So basically, there's been a lot of different events coming up that I've just been updating. on the website. If anybody wants to get the latest news, there is a subscribe to the blog email subscribe link so that you can get all of the latest updates. We've had a lot of food events. We had a food drive that was really great. I think I saw Sylvia, Sam was there. So just kind of staying active with things that sort of combine the county as well. And then of course, the library's link is there. And if you haven't been paying attention, I've been posting whenever something happens. So we've had another level of reopening with the county. So you can, of course, stay up to date on the county's roadmap to recovery, covid19.lacounty.gov/recovery. And then you can always sign up for the county links if you haven't done that already. And so that's really great because you'll be able to see a lot of the information as it comes up. And anybody, this is a call out to the public and also fellow council members. If anybody has any events coming up that they want posted on the website, and also I know Chloe is in there somewhere supporting us with the library, and also the chamber. So we're going to get some of the great announcements today. But at the end of the day, it never hurts to have it at all of the other places. So please do send information. You can find us at altadenatowncouncil.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, we're going to move on to item 3, public safety reports. And we're going to start with 3.1. I don't know if Officer Cooper's made it to the room or not, or has a presentation from the California Highway Patrol.
He never showed up in the waiting room.
Okay. All right, then I'm going to move on. Item 3.2 from the Altadena Sheriff Station with Captain Jacobs.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Good to see everybody tonight. I want to start with a couple of things about some of the protest information that we've been working on the past couple weeks. Immediately following, obviously, the unfortunate death of George Floyd, we were placed on what we call a 12 and 12 schedule, which is 12 hours on, 12 hours off. All days off were canceled, all vacations were canceled, and we were on that schedule in patrol for about a week and a half. So very taxing, but you'd be very proud of your Altadena sheriffs, deputies and detectives. They responded to many, many protests throughout the county, including downtown Los Angeles with everything that was going on. And I think as an agency, we did remarkably well. And you know, the sheriff is the first person to say that we as an agency, and I personally support peaceful protests, right to protest and do demonstrations that are respectful, and they're not looting and damaging and rioting and things like that. So I'm very, very proud of all of the protests and vigils we've had in Altadena. I think we've had about 4 or 5 that have been what I like to say a model town for how to get your message across. Very inclusive. I saw every walk of life, every age, every type of person, and nobody was out there causing a problem. So I could not be more proud of the town of Altadena, and I've shared that on social media. So also, I'm very happy to say that many members on this Zoom tonight have been so generous with donations, both business owners, Altadena Town Council members, Rotary Club members, and alike. Chamber have come to the station, have dropped off treats, have spoiled us with beautiful lunches, and just to show their appreciation, and the feeling is well received, and the deputies definitely appreciate it as well as I do. So thank you for everybody who's on here. You know who I'm talking about, and we love you guys for that. And just despite, you know, the issues going on throughout the nation, just I want you all to be assured that the station in Altadena, the deputies there, myself, we stand together. We really stand, you know, we like to say shoulder patch to shoulder patch, but, you know, it was It was well received. When the protests happened, we wanted to be there to protect the folks that wanted to share the message. We did not want to incite anybody, so we purposely, I ordered people to stay back and in a distance, but ready, I don't want to say ready to pounce, but ready to jump on somebody who's going to disrupt a peaceful demonstration or peaceful protest. So we will continue to do that, because I'm sure this effort is not over. So that's what I have to say about, we were also at the very large food event with the county and with several members on this Zoom. And it was a great turnout. I was able to take a few meals. My deputies were taking some meals to some of the seniors that could not afford to go there. Dr. Thomas, I see you smiling. And that was very, very rewarding for all of us to be able to say, you know what? It's great that you're staying inside and that you're taking care of yourselves, and that we can offer the service, and the county offers a service as well. And they really gave a lot of really good food. So that was a great event. On to crime stats. I'm proud to announce that we're down about 20% across the board. I hope that we can stay there with more businesses opening and more people out and about. It does lend to the trailheads, lock your doors, put things away. We are having a slight uptick in some of the window smashes and things like that at some of the trailheads, and people leaving their cars unlocked once again. On May 30th, we had a mini armed robbery crime spree that started in Altadena at the 7-Eleven. And then the same crew went down to locking out of Flint Ridge and hit their 7-Eleven down there, armed to 11 robbery, and then came back through Pasadena and robbed 3 of their 7-Elevens before they were finally caught. And that was a male black suspect and a female Hispanic driver that was apprehended by Pasadena PD. So we put that to rest, and they'll be charged with 5 different robberies. And last but not least, we've had an uptick of another 10 stolen vehicles. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no pattern of vehicle. It's just all over town. And again, what they're doing is, I think they're stealing these cars for their crime sprees and dumping them. So they're not being stripped. They're being recovered right there in Altadena, about 50% of them. So I don't understand the rhyme or reason to that, but that's still happening. And then we had 2 more catalytic converters stolen. So that's all I have to report. Just want to thank you guys for your time tonight, and I will take any questions you might have.
I'll open it up for questions in 1 second. I just have, do you have any updates regarding the proposed sheriff station closure? I know this is June, and the initial announcement was there was a possibility starting the beginning of July. And I know the county's doing some budget assessment at the end of this month. So I just wondered if you have any updates on that.
So I like to say no news is good news. And I'm very optimistic that we are not going anywhere, none of us. I have not heard that firsthand from the sheriff or any of his executive staff. However, the Board of Supervisors will be voting on this 2021 fiscal budget for the county on the 29th. That should be a telling factor. The date was July 1st, as you remember, for the consolidation. And then we're going to have a job fair as we trim down lots of jobs throughout the county. 8% is what the CEO and the Board of Supervisors is requesting from all county departments. So 8% is better than the 10% that we were going with. But all those folks that are being reassigned and positions that are not being filled are going to go to what we call a job fair, and then they'll look for current vacancies on the department where they can work, and they'll bid on seniority. So nothing has been said about the station itself, but I'm working on getting brand new flooring and carpet throughout the station, so I think that's a good sign. We've been on the list for about a year, waiting for our turn, so they came and measured on Monday. So I don't think that would be happening if we weren't going to stay in place. So I'm optimistic.
That's a good sign, because our biggest concern, I think, as a community is losing some of the outreach programs that are so important that comes out of the station. Okay, I'm open up to questions from the council. Does anyone have any questions? No? Okay, Councilmember Wong.
Hi, Captain. I'm just curious. Well, one, I've been following, I'll ask that one later. The simple thing is a lot of people, you know, as we look at policing into the future, community programs are vital, many people believe. And I know that's pretty much the heart of the sheriff's station, along with the great enforcement that you guys do. So I've just heard that a lot of the community officers are now doing patrol duty. So are we playing a waiting game still on this community? Can we be more proactive as a community in Altadena to say, you know, talk to ourselves and say, what programs do we want to see? Because at the end of the day, we're going to find out soon, perhaps, on what's happening. Obviously, we've got to cut some budgets, but maybe, you know, and maybe the discussions are happening here amongst the council members, but I'd like to know, you know, where you see the community programs going.
Well, it's a great question. And I assure you that is one of my top priorities, is community relations. I think we could, you know, again, if protests are any model of how we react to unfortunate situations in our town, then we have the chance to be like the model community policing town. And that's really my focus. So interesting enough, we're going to have a meeting on Friday night. My community advisory group is going to get together. We're going to talk to some other members that have been on the community advisory group before. And we are going to talk about that very subject of how we can work together as a community, as a sheriff station, to make some of these programs a little more robust. And I have 3 deputies basically that are, I think I've explained this before, but they're called unfunded items. So basically I take them out of the patrol function and I put them into a community relations function, a search and rescue, reserve coordinator, explorer coordinator, and our school resource officer, VITA officer, deputy. Those are 3 different people that do those jobs, and they do them 40 hours a week, you know, 4 days a week. So they have been reassigned to patrol functions. We try to give them at least 1 day a week to do now what's called their collaterals of everything I just mentioned to you, which I believe is a 40-hour work week. But they're not on my budget, basically. So if the 5th district wants us to continue to be very, very proactive and engaging in the community more than 10 hours a week, they're going to have to pay for them. And that's the message from the sheriff. So the edict was put them back in patrol and make what they do a collateral. And we all know what collaterals are. They're difficult to do when you're working and answering radio calls and working, you know, 8-hour days. So I'm more than willing to work with the community members and business owners and things like that to make this town great, better than it already is. And but I'm going to need some internal help because I can only be at so many places at one time. And those 3 individuals are amazing, hardworking, and committed, and they're not going anywhere. So we want to keep them. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
So I have a question. What was the plan for closing the budget deficit?
The plan for our station?
Yeah, because it seemed like the conversation was about the budget deficit, and in order to close that, they were gonna have to close the station, that station and the other station there, and was it Marina Del Rey? So what's the plan now for closing that?
So Marina Del Rey, they just promoted the acting captain to captain, and he was told that he is staying and the station's not closing. So I think that,
Okay.
again, is a positive message for all of us in Altadena, because they were going to save more money down at Marina than they will in Altadena. So as far as the rest of the budget, I say we're a kibble. We're a kibble when it comes to $400 million that we're looking for in the amount of money that he would save in just removing myself, some administrative staff, a couple sergeants. It just doesn't add up to all the benefits that having a full-fledged station, fully staffed, would do for us in Altadena. So there's not a lot of money savings from Altadena.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. What we're hearing here is that, to answer Councilmember Sanika's question as well, is that the signs are looking really good, that the stations aren't going anywhere. There's some positive things that we've seen from promotions and renovations and everything else, that it doesn't look like it, except we just don't have the actual thumbs up from the sheriff himself, and we may not hear that by the end of the month. So, but the signs are looking good, and we should feel positive about it. But as a community, we also want to make sure that we're prepared if for some reason something should change. So we always know what voices we need to say or speak under should anything else change. But at the moment, it's looking good. Correct?
Of course. Yep. Yes.
Okay. And
Billy, a comment. All well and good, but until we get a definitive statement from the sheriff that he is not going to gut the station and reduce the community relation functions there and force the captain, if she gets to stay, to take it out of everybody else's hide, we're not done yet.
I don't think so either.
I agree, and your voices are loud and clear, and I think the sheriff is still rocked at the way that our little tiny town responded to the closure efforts. So I encourage you. I mean, I'm speaking very candidly, very transparently about what those positions do. They are incredible deputies, and they just keep going, and they deserve to do their job for full time and not have to worry about working patrol every day. So I don't know. Maybe some pointed questions could come out of it. Maybe the board is going to have to weigh in and put these on the budget, on our contract.
And we as a community shouldn't have to kind of sit and wait and see what's going to happen. We should kind of know up front, and I agree with Councilmember Simmons.
Right, and that's more or less a board of supervisors. I'm sorry?
I was just going to make the observation that, picking on Marina del Rey and Altadena is they're the only stations that are completely unincorporated and don't have contract cities involved. So going after those just is, I'll just say it, the lazy way to go after the budget problem, because they don't have to go back and work on and renegotiate any contracts. And that's unacceptable from the standpoint of our community.
Okay.
Well, they don't have to work with city council members and city managers and mayors and things like that. They do have to redo a contract every year. The county redoes a contract, and that's also coming up. And that's when you can add, delete, make new assignments. And this is the time that the voices need to be heard to say, we need to put some effort into the community relations component of the station. We've been working out of hide for years. I mean, probably since the station became its own station again.
Right.
Okay.
It's just another indication that the things that are going on around the nation with respect to recognizing race inequalities and so forth, we've done so much in Altadena to overcome, I won't say overcome, but help that situation. And the community relations activities, I think we will all agree, VITA, the explorers, just the community relations deputies, just make that situation better here than it would otherwise be. And we need to be unified and support that.
I agree with that, but I want to do a couple more questions and then we're going to move on because we do have some other speakers. So Councilmember Marcuson.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's move on. I was going to say that I think that we ought to just designate Billy for you to talk to the supervisor's office, get the details from the captain and, let's go find out kind of where things are and make sure that they're aware. And then if we need to have more community involvement or additional community involvement, we can do that. But I think that tonight we just need to move on and go take it back to the supervisor's office. I think that's what I heard the captain say. It's up to them.
There's one other question. I know, have you finished, Councilmember Vega, Sylvia?
It was one line. I would just wanted to make sure, I know in the beginning that there was a lot of support, the letters, the emails that went to the sheriff, and wanted to find out if there was anything else that we could do to continue to show support, to continue to have a voice beyond what we did at the very beginning.
Well,
yeah, I just think, we talked about the message to the sheriff is very clear. He hasn't forgotten Altadena, and I don't think he ever will. And I think, I know his intentions are closing sheriff stations is last on the list. So I think, again, no news is good news, but we do need those critical positions to be funded, and that's not the sheriff's job. So we just need to work on that together. I can always ask for it. I mean, everybody's budget crunch. So I will continue to devote what we can. And I know my deputies stand behind me and behind all of you and behind the community, that it's so valuable to bring people together. And I'm sad about the summer concert series because it's so many people come together and nobody sees race or gender or age or nothing. And they're having a good time and they're enjoying the music, and that's not going to happen this year. So I'm sad about that, but we'll get back to it.
I will do as Councilmember Marcuson mentioned, though. I will follow up, and I'll follow up with the supervisor's office, and I'll follow up with the captain. I see we really need to move on, but Councilmember Wong's having a hand up. If we can just make a quick, brief question, and then we'll move on.
Sure. I think it's not necessarily a question, but I just want us to say it out loud that the sheriffs tend to be our first responders. So whatever happens, working with our homelessness, fire is a real danger here in Altadena. So emergency response. And obviously, yesterday there was the helicopter rescuing somebody off of Millard Canyon. So emergency support is vital here. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to close the questioning, and thank you very much, Captain. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'm going to move on to item 3.3 for Altadena Fire with Maria Grycan.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you guys didn't have me muted. For the month of May, we had a total of 318 responses for Altadena. 273 of those were for medical calls, and 171 people transported. We did have 2 fires, a cooking fire on Fair Oaks and a pole fire, which is an electrical pole, on Maiden Lane. We had 1 gas leak, a hazmat call I really messed up the date there. I'm not sure what that date was. I think it was probably May 6th. And then we had 19 traffic collisions. And that is it as far as the report goes. The only other thing I wanted to mention is that we are getting into warmer weather now. We're getting into Santa Ana winds that will be coming and going. So we're really kind of going into the height of our fire season. So this is about the time that I would start talking about our Ready, Set, Go program. We do have Ready, Set, Go information on our website at fire.lacounty.gov. You can go there, or you can just add the /RSG G for Ready, Set, Go, and it'll take you right to the Ready, Set, Go information. We have a video there. We have the pamphlet that is downloadable. And I encourage the public to look at that information. And we also have a video on the website on hardening the home. So there's a lot of good information on how to be really prepared in the event a wildfire comes through. And I know that the Altadena Town Council is also going to put this information on their website. They'll link to our website from there. So I really appreciate that. So with that, if there's any questions I can answer, I'd be happy to.
Any questions from the council? At this point? No questions?
Veronica.
Okay, Councilmember Jones? You're on mute.
I have a quick question. Maria, there was a really bad fire on Glen Rose. It was just like a week ago. Can you tell me what started that fire? Because it burned one house and the house next door.
Okay, I can't, let me see if I can find it for you very quickly.
What, if you can just email me that information, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, yeah, it will be included in next, because that happened in June. I know which fire you're talking about.
Yeah, it was really bad. I wanted information just so I can do something. So just, if you can email it to me, it'll be helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, no problem.
Thank you, Maria. Any more questions from the council? Councilmember Wong?
Yeah, so not a great question, but thank you for that information. We're going to put that, the Ready, Set, Go on the town council website. And then also information for us, I will share with the fellow council members just on Firewise councils. There's still a few days left for some grant opportunities. But at the end of the day, I'm going to just create a fire safety page. And then Councilmember Simmons, maybe he can look at it with me and anybody else in that world, because I think it's important.
Okay. Thank you.
Just a quick thank you and shout out, Maria, to the first responders yesterday. There was a fire on Brayburn and Tenoble, and it was a midday fire, house fire. I'm not sure if it was the house or the garage, but there was—
That one was the garage.
It was the garage. There was quite a rapid and sizable response to that. So again, thank you guys for all you do, but especially when these things happen sort of out of nowhere in the middle of the day.
Right, yes.
Okay, any more questions before we move on? Okay, thank you very much, Maria. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us in the meeting and for your updates.
Oh, my pleasure.
Okay, moving on. Thank you very much. I'm going to move on to item
Billy,
3.
Billy, I just want to say that first I was frozen and now my picture has disappeared, but I just want you to know that I'm still here.
Okay, I can't see you, so I wouldn't have noticed. Do you have a question for Maria before we leave?
No. I'm just letting you know, when I'm looking at the screen, I see everybody's picture but mine. I've just disappeared.
Okay, well
But
then, if you have a question, voice up, because I can't.
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on. Item 3.4, map your neighborhood with it, Sharon Collins. And you're on mute, Sharon, right now. Can you unmute?
Right. There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good evening, all. I wanted to report about what Altadena's Map Your Neighborhood committee has been doing. We have continued to work at getting Altadena prepared to be resilient following a big earthquake. So we're doing it one neighborhood at a time. It's been a challenge with this virus and all the social distancing that's required. So when the pandemic struck, we had about approximately a dozen hosts in different neighborhoods that wanted to use the Map Your Neighborhood program to meet with their neighbors to learn about preparedness. That has been on hold since March because, of course, we couldn't do home meetings. And it would usually be the case where the host would invite their neighbors to their home, see the video that's been put out, etc., and all of the tools that the committee brings, the committee member who supports the host brings displays and information to those meetings, and we can't do that anymore. So what we've done is we have been working on a way to have neighborhood meetings using Zoom. Surprise. Now this creates a number of challenges for our committee and for the host. So we are working on a process now that will keep everybody safe, that we still will be able to gather information from the neighbors, their contact information and so on. And we're working on a way that the committee can still support the host to the maximum possible under these conditions. Last month also, the trainings that we give 3 or 4 times a year, the trainings to get people who are interested in hosting the information that's needed, instead of doing that at Altadena Town and Country Club, we did our first Zoom meeting instead. So it worked out better than I thought it would, better than I had predicted. And we actually have an additional 4 hosts. Of course, I would have, like all of us, would prefer to be in person, but we just can't do it at this point. But we are going to continue. The committee is continuing and is committed to continuing whatever we can do until such time as we can have meetings again, because, of course, earthquakes don't care about pandemics. So fingers crossed. Thank you. If there are any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
I just want to, before I open up for questions, I just want to mention that my wife actually joined the Zoom meeting for the first time for Map Your Neighborhood last month.
Oh, great.
And it went very well. I tried to join as much as I could with her, but of course, as usual, I ended up getting a bunch of phone calls during the meeting. But she was very impressed and with Map Your Neighborhood and came out with a lot of knowledge. So
terrific.
You did very well, and I'd recommend doing it. I recommend anybody that has the time to join the Map Your Neighborhood Zoom meetings. They're very informative.
Well, and we have had that kind of positive feedback from the community, which is just wonderful to hear. That the best part of, I think, what comes out of the process is that neighbors actually get to know their neighbors, because they've got a purpose in getting together to try to figure out what can they do to help one another at the time when we don't have any water or running sewers or anything. So just that process and people getting to know one another has just been delightful to see. Better than I ever would have thought.
Thank you. Any questions before we move on? No. Okay, thank you very much, Anne. I really appreciate your time and coming.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. We're now going to go to special presentations. We're going to do a special presentation, item 4.1, Neighborhood Watch, with Jeff, and correct pronunciation of your name is Sedlik, is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, I just want to introduce Jeff. Jeff is a longtime Altadena resident, a community advisory council member, and a 10-year volunteer at the Altadena Sheriff Station. Jeff is an advertising photographer, a professor at the Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, and runs a nonprofit arts association. And he's also a forensic specialist, enhancing photography and video for federal, state, and local law enforcement. So now everyone's got a little bit of understanding of you, Jeff. So I'll give it to you.
Thank you, Billy. And thank you, Veronica, for inviting me to share some information about Neighborhood Watch today. I do want to say, starting off, that when we all heard that the station might be closing, I was one of the many people who wrote to the sheriff. I wrote to him on a Friday night at 11, and at 8:30 on a Saturday morning, he called me on my cell phone and spoke to me for close to an hour, asked me a lot of questions, and I made sure to share with him how much we value our great station, our great captain, and her team here. And I really appreciated that he took the time to call me and really asked me some great questions, and he showed that he had an understanding. I don't really know about all the politics involved. I don't really want to think about it too much, but I was impressed, and also impressed with what our captain has done in the interim to save the station. So I run I'm kind of neighborhood watch coordinator for Altadena for a long time here. I help neighborhood watch groups to get started. And Councilwoman Jones asked me to share how people in the community can start a neighborhood watch in their area. And so I have a PowerPoint. It'll be about 10 minutes. And I'm glad to take questions at the end. So I'm going to try and share my screen here. Just give me 1 second. I can figure that out. All right. Okay. So can folks see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. All right. So the first step when you're going to start a neighborhood watch is to go to altadenaalert.org. And that is a website that I set up. It's a very, very simple website, but it has a Google map, and it has little colored areas all over it that show you the areas that are covered by current neighborhood watch groups and neighborhood associations who work as neighborhood watch groups as part of their function across Altadena. So when people want to start a neighborhood watch group, there might already be one where they are. And so the first thing is to go to this site and click on any one of those areas. And when you do, it'll show you the head of that neighborhood watch group. And there's Elliot right there. And the contact information, and you can contact them and ask to join that group. Or if the group is very close to where you want to open your group, you can say, hey, can you expand your borders a little bit, and we'll join in with your group instead of having two groups in the same spot. Of course, anybody can start a group wherever they want, including right in the middle of one of these colored patches. You know, the world's your oyster, and it's fine. It's just, in my experience, and just logically, it's a great thing to join a group that's already there. And so the first thing that you do when you're starting a group is to form a founding committee. So contact some of your neighbors, ask them if they'd like to join in with you to start up a group. It's very, very easy. You know, there's a certain type of neighborhood watch group back in the 60s and 70s. It's fairly difficult to get them rolling. You can get them rolling very quickly now, a lot more quickly than previously. So pull together some neighbors, and 4 or 5 neighbors, 3, 4, or 5 neighbors, and start talking about what you'd like to do in your neighborhood. So what the best way to go, let me just see if I can get this to be full screen here. There we go. The best way to go with it is, first you have to decide, are you going to open a neighborhood association, or are you going to open a neighborhood watch group? And a neighborhood association can do anything. You can have a neighborhood watch group within your association. One of the functions of your association can be a neighborhood watch. Social aspect, there's all kinds of things a neighborhood association can do. It's basically any purpose. Versus a neighborhood watch group is a group that's put together exclusively for safety and security purposes. And again, it's not an either or. You can mix and match, but it's good to have a discussion with your neighbors about what would be best for your area. And in some areas, people decide to start both. And I'll tell you why, and that's because some people are hesitant to join a neighborhood association, but almost anyone will join a neighborhood watch group. The reason why people might not want to join an association is perhaps they don't get along with certain neighbors, or they're not social, or they don't want to, they're two working people who don't have time. They think they're going to have to go to meetings. They don't want to be in the same group with their neighbor who doesn't cut his or her lawn or whatever. There's all kinds of things. And we ran into that when we were starting our group here, which we call Bray Watch. We have over 300 homes that are part of our group. And we found when we were trying to get it started that some people just didn't want to participate because they didn't get along with some of the other people who were participating. And that could just be some old dispute about a branch on a tree hanging over their property. I don't know. So we just decided, let's just do a neighborhood watch group and not try and do anything else, and only focus on safety and security. And everyone joined. Anybody that we asked came in, and it's been great. And I have nothing I can't recommend either one of them. Every little group of homes has different considerations, and a lot of people combine the two. So after you decide what you're going to be, you have to define your boundaries. And I would suggest that you go a little bigger than just a few houses. And I think that's also my advice from the sheriff when we were getting started. It's behind you, the house behind you, which might be on another street, is where people who might be burglarizing homes might just jump over the fence from behind you. You want to be able to hear and communicate with people all around you. So you can have a neighborhood watch group of any size. This is the shape and size of what we call Bray Watch. Once you decide on your boundaries, north, east, south, and west, then go back to altadenaalert.org, and there's a little form there you fill out, and that lets me know that you're going to start a neighborhood watch group. Then I will put you on the map so that people who want to join Neighborhood Watch can join you. And that's even if you're in the middle of an existing Neighborhood Watch area, you can start your own. And I will also let our sheriff station know that that's going to happen, and I will help you to coordinate with them so that you can have a meeting. And our community relations deputy is Deputy Pete Liberta. He's fantastic, a really great person, very focused on the community. And you would, after you decide what you're going to be and where it's going to be, and get yourself onto the map, Pete, our Deputy Liberta, is the one to call. I've got his number up on the screen, and he will set up a meeting. Now, realize, as the captain said earlier, that Deputy Liberta is only working at most 1 day a week on this at this time until the budget issues are resolved. So give him a little space, and don't worry about, if you don't get an immediate response, just give him a little time. He's very great at follow-up, and he's fantastic. So then what you want to do is set up some kind of online discussion group. And that group can be like a Google group or what have you, where neighbors, first your committee will start communicating on it so that you can coordinate. And then as people join, you can pull them in. Very easy to start, and they're free, and there's all different kinds of online discussion groups. It could be even a Facebook group that's private or what have you. I don't recommend that you expose it to everybody out there in the public. I recommend that you keep it private to your own members. Then you want to add some resources to your group, like on Bray Watch, we have an emergency contact list that has contact information for most people in the group. We have the registered sex offenders link, earthquake readiness, and FAQ about how the organization works. Really importantly, is people do not want to receive a bunch of email from their local group, whether that's no matter what kind of association it is. We all get too much email already. And also, if you are a neighborhood watch group, I recommend that you strictly limit the discussion to neighborhood watch issues. If you're a neighborhood association, it can be anything. But if you're a neighborhood watch group, start out with a rule so that everybody that comes in understands this is not about talking about people who should mow their lawn. This is not about talking politics or religion or anything else. And you keep the volume of emails down, and you have moderators who approve the messages. It's not censorship. It's starting out with some rules that just very much limit the discussion to safety and security. I also recommend that you have a rule called respect. And I think the whole world needs a little bit of that right now, respect and love, and an open mind and an open heart. But in our group, we have a respect rule. You cannot attack anyone in the community on this forum. And I wish that that also applied to some of the other local forums that we have. Optionally, you can also create a website for your group that's exposed to the public so that the public can read up about your group before they join. Usually within a group, there's somebody who knows how to create a website. It's quite simple these days, but you don't need this, but I recommend it. And then when you're ready to go, you've talked to the sheriff, you know what you're going to be. You basically print up a flyer, a one-pager, and get some volunteers together and go hand them out around the neighborhood and knock on some doors and introduce this group. And when we did that, we got up to about 100 members in the first couple of days, and everybody really wanted to join, especially when they found out that attending meetings is not mandatory. Mandatory attendance of meetings is somewhat problematic because eventually it peters off and it's somewhat demoralizing when you only end up with 3 people show up to a neighborhood watch meeting and then they dissolve. So we don't have any mandatory meetings. You recruit your participants, and then very importantly, if there are people in your neighborhood who don't have computers or perhaps are not computer savvy, then we have sponsors for each one of those people. So when there's an announcement that goes out by email, they can walk next door, knock on the door and say, there's a situation happening that you need to know about, or call them. We also have an emergency contact list with some very strict rules about not using it for anything other than emergencies, like, hey, there's water flowing out from under your door, and you can call that person at work or whatever. We post announcements that are called BOLOs, like be on the lookout if the sheriff's station contacts me and says there's something going on, people need to stay in their homes. I can push that out to my group, and I can also push it out to the whole Altadena members of all the neighborhood watch groups in Altadena, and I have done that on occasion. So that's it. The summary is right there. Check for an existing group, form your founding committee, define the boundaries, meet with the deputy, submit your group, create a discussion group, distribute flyers, recruit some sponsors for the computer list, and have an emergency contact list and post your security info, and then grow your group. And I am glad to take any questions.
Any questions from the council for Jeff? Councilmember Knapp.
Hi, Jeff. How recently was the last neighborhood watch group formed that you're aware of?
The last call that I got for assistance is about a week ago.
Okay.
I usually get 1 to 2 calls a month, and I'll try and help people along, but sometimes they fizzle, you know, and sometimes they do it because there's this book about starting a neighborhood watch, and it's written a long time ago, and you know you can get it from the sheriff's station. Actually, I think you buy it or donate to get it, or from a third party, and it has the way to do it in the 60s and 70s, and it's really hard to get it going in this day when everybody's working. So you know, I think that there's some great groups where it's very social and everybody gets together all the time and enjoys it. Of course, with COVID, that's quite difficult. But then there's also a bunch of groups here that maybe they've never even had a meeting, but they have a very effective communication network to get information out instantly to everybody, to keep an eye out, or there's a car coming down the street. I was just burglarized, or, you know, we had a month ago, we had a helicopter using the speaker overhead here, and sheriff deputies everywhere trying to chase somebody down. And I was able to tell everybody, stay in your homes.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions from the council?
Is that sort of similar to next door? Aside from it being a security, but I'm saying, isn't that what they do on next door also?
That's a great question. I think Nextdoor is a community discussion group, and certainly you can get the word out on Nextdoor to everybody that is subscribed. Your neighborhood watch group is going to be more localized, where it is, you know, a couple of streets that everybody has each other's contact information and can share information very quickly, including also putting it out onto Nextdoor and in other ways to announce it. But we don't, you know, on Nextdoor, you have a lot of posts about, you know, the bears, which I love those posts, and the deer and the cats and the dogs and all of that. And we need that in this community, but we also need to be able to communicate alerts about security issues as they arise.
Councilmember Wong, you had a question?
Quick question. Neighborhood watch signs, is that part of your tasks?
It's not part of my task, but I do guide people in working their way through that process. Basically, you, as a neighborhood watch group, you have to collect money from your neighbors and go out and buy the signs. And there's a process for applying to the county to be able to get permission to put the signs up or to replace signs. And they actually come out and do that. after you've raised the money and after you have enough to buy the signs and shown the areas that you want the signs put up.
Very good. And then I had a question. Somebody is asking on the YouTube channel. They want to know if there's a correlation between the presence of a neighborhood watch group in an area and crime events reported by local authorities.
I'm going to defer to the captain on that one.
And the captain also had a question, I believe.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi.
Jeff, thanks so much for giving that presentation. That was very detailed and involved. And I tell you, we would not be where we are today without Neighborhood Watch. You know, I say, if you see something, say something. Well, this is a group of people. I've personally been invited into community members' homes. Food usually is a good a good offer, and I'll show up. But no, I really enjoy going out to the Neighborhood Watch meetings. And that was really my goal this year, as Altadena Town Council can attest to. I wanted to get out to all the census tracts this year and meet some of the folks, but COVID kind of put a spoiler on that. But nonetheless, I personally will come out to help you guys get together with your Neighborhood Watch. And Jeff, I'm sure you would join me to get these folks started and meet existing Neighborhood Watches. And then also, you can really use the same model towards Business Watch. And we've worked with Veronica Jones on some of the Business Watch opportunities. And that's equally as important, because, you know, you spend a lot of time at your respective jobs and noticing things that are happening, and folks that are hanging out that shouldn't be there or causing problems. So you share the information amongst, you know, a little strip mall or whatnot, and that's very helpful. But we also give crime updates, and as myself and Deputy Liberta will come on out and address the group. But I think there is, hopefully that answers your question, Councilmember Wong, about basically, does Neighborhood Watch help deter crime or bring crime down? Absolutely, because these neighbors are not afraid to get involved, not necessarily physically involved, but get involved, get on the phone, and let their fellow neighbors know what they saw, what the sheriffs did, and just another mouthpiece for what is going on in the community is always beneficial. So I really, really embrace the Neighborhood Watch programs and think they're invaluable. So thanks, Jeff, again for your very detailed presentation.
Absolutely, and thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't think there's any more questions, correct? Okay, Councilmember Becerra? And then
Yeah.
we're gonna move on.
Just a quick question. I'm just trying to understand a little bit more in terms of, you know, the Neighborhood Watch in regards to the kind of training that you may do with, you know, see something, say something. So sometimes what one might perceive as a threat might not actually be a threat, and that could turn into something that may, you know, turn into an unfortunate event, right? And so I'm just trying to think of things that, you know, if I'm wearing a hoodie down the street and then someone perceives that as something bad, and, you know, things get out of hand or something. So I'm just trying to understand, what kind of training do you have, or is there any training to kind of identify those kind of things to further escalate or not escalate?
Okay, so there is no kind of formal training. We do send out information when people join to make sure that they understand that this is not law enforcement. You are not chasing people down. It is not your job. Your job is, if you see somebody, of course, if they're in a hoodie, you're not making the call. If they're in a hoodie going down the street, lifting door handles of cars to see if they're unlocked, then you would call. There has been a time in our neighborhoods, and I would say that was 3 captains ago, maybe about 6, 7 years ago, when we had quite a bit of crime going on and a high rate of burglary. And at that time, the captain asked us, you see anything, a person you don't recognize or whatever, and it had nothing to do with race. It's just, we were having so many burglaries. There was 3 doors kicked in on my street in one day once, that you just had to call. And then when the Altadena sheriff shows up, they usually say, hey, what's going on, to the person. They're not coming after the person or anything like that. And it's just, I think it also depends on the station and the station's leadership as to what those responses are. But to answer your question, we don't go through training, but what we do is we tell people how to describe a scene, such as they need to get the height of the person, what are they wearing, what's their hair like. But we also don't want to get kind of racially themed reporting of like profiling or even reports that emphasize race. It's just one thing about the person, and we try and help people to understand that so that you don't get messages posted to the group that are upsetting to people, even unintentionally.
Right. Thank you.
Now I'm going to move on. We do have a couple more things to get through. Thank you very much, Jeff. I really appreciate you taking the time and joining us and giving us all the enlightened information. And can we give out your contact information if somebody wishes to? They can contact Veronica Jones if they have any other questions, and we can pass them along to you. Would that be acceptable?
Certainly, absolutely. Anytime, and anytime I can support the council, I will.
Okay, excellent. All right, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. So we're going to move on to community reports. Item 5.1, the Altadena Library with Nikki Winslow. And welcome, Nikki.
Hello, everyone. Can you see my screen? Yes. Okay. So good evening, everyone. So good to see all of you again. Thank you so much for giving me time to speak this month. I have a short presentation tonight, but lots of good information to share. Just a reminder, we have 3 Board of Trustee seats open in this upcoming November election. If you love your libraries and want to make an impact in your community, you can run for the Board of Trustees and provide high-level strategic and financial oversight for our Altadena libraries. The nomination period begins July 13th and closes August 7th. There's a lot of information and a variety of helpful links that you can find on our website at altadena.org/board-election. Thanks to Chloe for creating our very attractive banners, which were hung up this week, both at the main and our Bob Lucas branches. Let's see. How do I? So briefly before the district closed in March, our equity, diversity, and inclusion team of staff was formed to begin to guide the district's EDI efforts, both internally and in the community. Led by Amanda Toledo, our library associate in the children's department, the team of 6 staff members has started to form an action plan that will guide, number 1, the evaluation of current condition of policies and operations in an anti-discrimination lens, and number 2, the implementation of training and programming around EDI topics for both the staff and the public. Currently, the team is narrowing down the priorities into a timeline that is achievable and sustainable to be presented to the management team for collaborative review and implementation in our operating plan. Ultimately, we not only want to say that things are important, but we want to demonstrate that through the actions that we take, both with the way that we deal with staff and the community. In response to the recent Black Lives Matter protests around the country, the EDI team composed a message reflecting the district's commitment to anti-racism and continually working towards equity, which can be found at altadena.org/BlackLivesMatter. The message includes lists of anti-racism resources available in our collection for all ages, as well as a link to the statement released by the Friends of the Altadena Library and the Altadena Library Foundation. So I'd encourage you to take a look. The staff did an excellent job of composing that statement. Let's see. Summer reading has launched, and we are thrilled to announce almost all of our kits for our youngest readers through adults have been distributed. And if I'm not mistaken, that's well over 600 kits in just this last week alone. People can still participate virtually through our online events for all ages. See our website for upcoming performances and workshops. Today, a few dozen children and their families got to enjoy Zany Zoe and her magical performance in a secure Zoom room. We have many more programs to come this summer, including virtual trivia nights, bingo for kids, meditation workshops, and more. You can register for all events on our website. So again, visit altadena.library.org/summer. While we are closed, our libraries have curated relevant monthly displays that display our diverse collection on our website found at altadena.library.org/on-display. June's lists feature pride-themed picks for all ages and a variety of authors in the LGBT community. So I encourage you to check it out and see what you can check out in a virtual capacity. Finally, we're tentatively scheduled for a limited reopening the week of July 6th. Hooray, I know, a lot of you are thinking, which would offer limited socially distanced use of computers and some limited browsing of new titles out of the community room. This reopening schedule will still depend on public health guidance in the weeks to come. Curbside service will continue. We still have that going on right now. If you're interested in setting up a curbside appointment, please call us at 626-798-0833. They're currently taking orders Monday through Saturday, 10 to 4 p.m. To date, we have fulfilled upwards of 550 appointments, distributing and checking out over 2,100 items. So you can learn how to set up an appointment, or like I mentioned, give us a call. On the website, it's altadena.library.org/curbside. And that's all I've got for you tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions that the council has.
Thank you. I'm going to open to the council. Is there any questions from the council for Nikki or for the library? Any questions for the library? Councilmember Knapp.
Hi, Nikki. It's good to see you. You know, I'm very excited to hear about the possibility of limited reopening. I just had a question specifically about the plan or the current catalog of books around racial justice, social justice, anti-racism, white privilege, white fragility, those kinds of things, because I was going to call in to order, but I wasn't even really sure like what our current catalog looks like.
Chloe, can you speak to that or no?
Yes, so on that page of the altadena.library.org/Black Lives Matter, we did include curated lists of exactly those topics broken down by adults, teens, and children. So if you go on our website, on the front page, you'll see the little Black Lives Matter icon, and on that page, there's a whole list of things available in our catalog. So when you click on any of those titles, they'll show you the availability of the catalog.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
I know that part of the goal of the EDI team, I'm on that team, part of the goal is to also analyze sort of what is in our collection, like Nikki mentioned, like doing a full evaluation of sort of what is available in our collection and supplementing where we need to. So more to come on that, and we're working on sort of an action plan that will describe more about that. But for now, we do have some limited titles available for each of the different age groups. So I encourage you to check out that link.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, did I see a hand coming up from Councilmember Santangelo?
Yes, I have one. I've used the curbside service a couple times and it was great. So just wanted to give you some feedback on that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Worked out really well. So
my hand is raised, Billy.
Okay, where are we?
It's Pat.
Okay,
my hand is
okay.
raised.
That's why. Councilmember Sutherlen. I'm like, I didn't see that one. Okay.
Yeah, right. I too have used curbside service, and it was in and out, and it worked wonderfully. But I wonder, Chloe, could you repeat how to find the books that in the catalog that you were mentioning? I just wasn't writing fast enough, and
sure.
I personally I can't get into the catalog, and it's my computer problem, not yours. So I want to make sure I've got the information so I can explain it to some of my residents.
Absolutely, yes. If you go, there's a couple ways to get there. The easiest way is just by typing in altadena.library.org/Black Lives Matter, and that'll take you to a page that has our statement, and below the statement is a bunch of, we call them bookshelves, but little sliders that you can click through to see a bunch of different books on that topic about anti-racism, white fragility. There's a bunch of like the top ones that are selling out across the country right now, which is awesome news, we have in our collection. So that is whatever is showing on the screen, that's the best way to click through and find that. And you can also search at any time at the top of our website, search the catalog. If you type in those key terms, books under that topic will come up as well.
I got it, thank you.
Thank you. I don't have view of everybody right now, so if you have another question before I move on, now I can see you. Any more questions before I move on? No more questions? Okay. Thank you very much again, Nikki. Always a pleasure having you, and thank you for showing up and for the support that the library gives us in making this happen. Okay, moving on. Item 5.2, LA County Parks and Rec, Sam Estrada. Welcome.
Hello. Good evening, everybody. So we have a lot, it's not a lot, but we have our summer camp coming up. It's going to be starting July 6th. And it will be at limited sites throughout LA County. However, we will be having it at Loma Alta Park. And like I said, it'll be starting July 6th, and we anticipate it going until August 14th. At this time, we don't have everything finalized yet. We're looking to have that completed by the end of this week in terms of fee structure, enrollment amount, and the basically like what will be expected of when the parents register the kids and safety precautions and all of that, because our staff will be going through training to ensure that COVID-19 guidelines are followed based off of what the CDC and the state have suggested. There will be 3 sessions. So the first session will be July 6th through the 17th. The second session will be July 20th through the 31st, followed by the last session, August 3rd through the 14th. And like I said, I'll be forwarding you guys the information hopefully by the end of this week once everything is finalized and put up on our county website regarding all of our summer camp information across LA County.
Excellent. Any questions for Sam from the council? Councilmember Wong?
Hi, Sam. How does the pool play into this at Loma Alta?
I spoke to the pool manager for our department last week, and I asked him that same question. And he said if we are to open the pools, if we're given the clearance, he said that there will not be any public swim. It will just be private lessons. And then okay, go ahead, sorry.
Will you be taking the children on like field trips and that type thing?
No,
everything will just be at the park.
Everything will be at the park. They won't be leaving or anything like that.
Okay. What about hikes? Not doing anything like that?
No, they're actually going to be going out. Like we'll be doing nature walks. We'll be going out. Our program is going to pretty much be designed through our STEM program. So they'll be doing a lot of science, technology, and engineering through these 6 weeks. It's a curriculum that we've developed over the years. We used it last year, and since it's already developed and it's been we worked on with LA County Beaches and Harbor, Parks and Rec, the Natural History Museum. We're just putting that to use again for this summer, since most of the parks already were using it last year. So,
okay. Councilmember Knapp, I saw you had your hand up.
Just a thank you to you and the Parks and Rec staff for your diligence and support of pickleball in Altadena.
Yeah, I actually was going to go into that.
I won't say anything. You go, okay. and then just know I'm thanking you.
Okay, yeah. Okay, because real quick too, we started our summer lunch program today. So it's going to be going Tuesday through Saturday. And it is free for everybody. It is a grab and go. It's from 12:30 to 1:30. And it is different from years past. It used to be Monday through Friday. However, right now, since the parks are closed on Mondays, we moved it to Saturdays. So again, it's Tuesday through Saturday from 12:30 to 1:30. It is free for kids. Adults that are 18 or older can get it. However, it's for handicapped or special needs. Loma Alta, Charles White, Farnsworth all have the summer lunch program. It's also a snack program, but it is combined with the lunch program. We do have, as it was brought up, pickleball. We had our community meeting last week. And after, I would say, over 2 years of studies and data collection, and switching from a different agency from the northeast to the north, we finally determined after all of this that we will be constructing permanent pickleball nets on one court at Court 1 at Farnsworth Park. There'll be 4 courts on that one court. And if you were part of that meeting, or if you were able to catch it after on YouTube, you saw my supervisor, Trevor Zemp, showed the layout and showed the data that we collected from our study over the last, I'd say 2 years, because it's been more than a year. And they determined that the use of pickleball was sufficient enough to construct these permanent nets at Farnsworth Park. And it did not show any deterrence of the use of tennis. So at this time, they still are 2 tennis courts up with the temporary, or with the courts painted. So I don't have the timeline of when the courts will be built, but that is forthcoming. And lastly, I know that there were questions and people have asked about Eden Canyon. If people are interested in Eden Canyon, you can go onto our reservation website. It is a reservation that you do have to complete in order to go into Eden Canyon. So they do have set times that you can check in and make your reservation. They do 3-hour increments, so you can go from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. or 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. They still encourage physical distancing while you're out there, and you only need to one reservation per vehicle, or up to 4 people that are walking in. So you can go to our reservations.lacounty.gov if you're interested, or if people are interested in making these reservations. And again, it is limited, so if you miss out, unfortunately, that's all that they would have for that day, but you can try for another day.
Have they been selling out, Sam?
I've been told yes, so it does become very popular. So it's been open through, it says that it's been open, so I haven't been told that it shuts down or anything like that, or people are having trouble getting in to reserve. So it should be, if there are any problems, they always can call the department or call Eden Canyon if they're having issues of registering. I don't directly handle that. I'm just kind of doing this as a favor to notify, since I know how close Eden Canyon is to the area. So yeah, if you guys have questions about anything I've mentioned, feel free.
I have a question. Is there a fee involved with that? The registration?
The registration, from what it's showing, is that there's no fee. It's almost like kind of like you just got to reserve it. You got to kind of just lock it in. And then I believe they give you kind of like a confirmation that once you've made your reservation, you're good to go.
Do they do same day reservations, or do you have to do it ahead of time?
Well, if you're early enough to do it, then you should be able to get same day.
Okay.
Well, thanks ever so much. Councilmember Becerra, I'm going to make this. We got to move on. So 2 more questions, I guess. Councilmember Becerra and then Councilmember Wong.
So how is the ticketing enforced? Is there someone actually at the entrance, or are people reserving online, or like how does that work?
Yeah, so they'd have to go online to the LA County. Basically, it's our LA County reservation website, reservations.lacounty.gov. And then when you go there, you'll be able to select the time that you would like to go. They do have increments of time of when you can go. Like I said, it's 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. or 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. or 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. So you can select within that window depending on when you're wanting to go on these hikes.
And I'm referring, I guess, in person. You know, when
you're on mute. Sorry.
at the site? Like, is there someone at the gate, you know,
Yes,
looking
there
for
is.
tickets or?
Yes, there is.
Yes.
Got it.
And I think they only let 80 people in each.
Sorry, you were on mute.
frame.
I drive by it often when I'm heading to the store, and there's always at least minimum of 2 people there from parks with at least one pop-up, and they're monitoring everyone coming, and I see them also turning a lot of people away without reservations and advising them, I'm assuming, because it looks like they're in conversation on how to proceed for when they want to come back. Am I correct, Sam? I'm just confirming.
Yes.
Okay. All right, there was one other question. Councilmember Wong, do you have a question? And we're going to move on.
I think it's more of a comment. I don't know if Sam can answer it, but obviously that connects to the Mount Wilson Toll Road, which is U.S. Forest Service. So I've been told that if anyone wants to bicycle, they need to sign up for a reservation online and walk their bicycle to the toll road. So I don't know if there's any future, you don't have to answer this, but any future potential access. There is an access point for bicyclists, but I don't know if anyone's monitoring it off the Altadena Crest Trail. So I'm just putting that out there, that I'm receiving a lot of concerns about access to the Mount Wilson Toll Road and Henniger Flats. So
Yeah, I would contact the supervisor's office for that, Dot. That's not Parks and Rec, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thanks ever so much, Sam. I really appreciate you coming. I love the view out of your window there. That's one of my favorite spots of Altadena, behind you. Thanks again. Look forward to hearing from you next month. And I'm going to move on to item 5.3, Altadena Chamber of Commerce, Doug Cauliflower.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me. Couple of brief things. The Chamber has teamed up with Neighbors Building a Better Altadena to put together a webinar that will take place tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Targeted at businesses. Obviously, there's a lot of concern for our local businesses, and we've put together 3 terrific organizations and some people that hopefully will provide some great resources and information to our local businesses to help them navigate in this post-COVID, or we're still in COVID-19, and certainly the post-COVID environment. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation, LA County Consumer Business Affairs, and then the Workforce Development, Aging and Community Services will be the 3 entities that will be represented there. There'll be short presentations by each one of them. We'll have time for Q&A. And then we're really hoping that we have a good representation of our local business people, and we can engage in some discussions and idea sharing on how we're going to operate and be successful post-COVID, because we all know that we're all having to do things differently, and it's a new wild frontier out there. And so that's just kind of a snapshot. The meeting link is on the flyer. And we, I know it's a little late notice, but if you can share the information this evening, that would be great. And we hopefully will have a good turnout. We're hoping this is just maybe the first in a series. We're hoping there'll be more of them. It's well received. We get some good feedback, good interaction, good idea sharing, that we'll have subsequent meetings as well. The second item I have, just very proud to announce that the Chamber at our June 2nd board meeting, we awarded 4 $1,000 scholarships to local seniors, high school seniors. And those monies are a product of the monies raised at our annual installation dinner and award ceremony, where we honor our Citizen of the Year and our Business of the Year. So just want to thank the community for supporting that event, supporting the fundraising. Obviously, the awards was done virtually, a little different than what we're used to, but the kids were very appreciative, and I know the money will come in handy to them. So thank you for everybody's support with that. And then lastly, if I may, Billy, I'd like to put on my Rotary hat for a moment. I don't know if Captain Jacobs is still here, but the summer concert series, we met this afternoon and we have finally officially postponed the concert series. We're not going so far as canceling it at this point in time, but we have decided we've got too many challenges, too many questions, and too little time to do anything that'll happen in July. So the schedule for July has definitely been postponed. We're hoping that conditions will change, and as we all know, conditions change almost daily. So we're still trying to, we're hopeful that we'll have some come August, but July is definitely off the calendar. So I will be getting out some additional information tomorrow into the community. Again, we just had our meeting this afternoon and I haven't been able to get to it yet. So that is all I have. Unless there are questions, I will do my best to answer.
Any questions for Doug?
Diane?
Yeah, well, I just had a comment real quickly. Doug and Veronica both worked really, really hard on that. I'm putting together that webinar for the businesses, and yeah, it is a little bit late notice for everybody, but if you do know a business that might benefit, we would love to have them join. You know, in particular, the COVID cases in LA County are not under control. We're apparently on a state watch list for needing to do a better job of controlling. And so from a business perspective, you know, it's just really, really important that we try to find ways to help these businesses survive, because, you know, we may be on a delay for opening or whatever all else may happen. So anyway, thank you, Doug and Veronica, for working so hard on putting that together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember. Oh, I'm sorry, Billy. Go ahead.
So it just dawned on me, the supervisors also just recently approved sort of an expansion of space to allow for social distancing dining. So I have a great thought, you know, that we could apply perhaps for that opportunity to potentially, I'm throwing it out there, to really think about perhaps Lake and Mariposa, that we can create this safe space and create a fun day of dining.
Those are all the things that we hope will have that dialogue. So hopefully we'll see you in the morning.
I have one question for you, Doug. You posted the flyer on a shared screen, or somebody did, and that was great information for anybody that wishes to go to the meeting tomorrow morning. But for those community members that may wish to, or business owners that saw that or may wish to go to the meeting and didn't have time to write it down, is that flyer posted on the chamber website, or is it on the Facebook page? So if somebody after this meeting wants to go get the information on how to sign on, is it posted somewhere they can go to?
Yeah, our Facebook page, I don't believe it's on the chamber website. It's on, it should be, I believe Pat posted it, or Dot may have posted it on the town council website.
Yes.
Okay.
So it is there?
It's
Okay,
on,
thanks,
and
Dot.
it's on the NBBA website. That's where I saw it earlier today.
Okay.
All right. So there, so MBBA, it's on
And it's on the Altadena Facebook page too.
and the Altadena Town Council and the social media. So we are covered. So if you are looking for it, Google it, go onto Facebook, Google it. You should be able to find the information on one of those flyers. All right. I'm going to move on if that's okay. No more questions for Doug?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks for coming, Doug. Thanks for sharing.
Yep.
And I was there for the scholarship awards. It was amazing to see those kids. So thank you. All right. Moving on to item 6, committee reports. Item 6.1, land use. Councilmember Markison. You're on mute.
I know. Okay.
Right.
We did not have a meeting this month. However, we have a couple things in the works that may allow us to have a meeting for July. I think it's July 7th. It's later in the month. July starts on Wednesday, I think, this month. but we will keep you all posted for that. There's one that is closer than the other one is to being reviewed. So, but watch this space and we'll get the information out to everybody as soon as we have it. That's all I have.
Okay, so council members who are on land use expect to be at land use this coming month.
That's our plan.
Okay, that's the plan. All right, thank you. I assume there's no questions to that. Okay, moving on. Item 6.2, election committee. Veronica, Councilmember Jones. You're on mute.
I bet you my husband wish he could mute me sometime too. So. But anyway, my report for the election committee is as follows. The rules and dates for the town council 2020 election have not been voted into effect due to the governor's suspension of public gatherings and meetings. Out of an abundance of caution and in following with state and local directives, I, as election chair, am providing the following recommendations for consideration tonight. 1, that we set the early voting election date for November 3rd, 2020. 2, set the election voting date for November 7th, 2020. 3, election rules and dates will be presented at the August 18th meeting and to be voted into effect. As of today, the following council members declared that they would not be running for re-election, but will extend their terms to December 15th. December 15th is the first meeting preceding the election. Antonio Becerra, Jennifer Lee, Akuri Izimi, and Gloria Sanica. In the meantime, know that your council representatives are working together to ensure the election rules and procedures are maintained throughout the rollout of state and federal, state and county directives. We will continue to provide updates through our website and our virtual council meetings. This report was reviewed and approved by the executive committee. Respectfully, me, Veronica Jones.
Okay, thank you, Veronica. Any questions for Councilmember Jones before we move on? I think that's, and if you have any questions, concerns, anything, you can feel free to contact Councilmember Jones between now and next month, when more information will be coming out.
But are we going to vote on those dates now?
Oh, we can vote on the dates currently, so at least that gives us a deadline. Absolutely. Would you like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we vote on the 3 recommendations that I already read to you.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second with Aaron. Councilmember Cheetah. Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Say yay.
Yay, yay.
Yay. Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? I see no abstentions and no nay votes, so I assume that's unanimous. So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the hard work, Councilmember Jones. We really appreciate you. Okay, moving on. Item 6.3, Safe Seats Committee with Councilmember Wong.
Hi, thank you. So I was going to give a report. The county had motioned an opportunity for unincorporated areas to create slow street programs in unincorporated areas, which could include, I should have brought a presentation, some simple signage as Pasadena has done organically to help provide safe space for people to walk, bike, get around, and at the same time provide opportunity for us to look at our streets and see how they can be improved for traffic safety, how people feel when they move on their street. So as soon as the application process comes out, I will alert everybody. And then today so again, even with, as I had mentioned to Doug, a slow street could also be a closed street, which could amount to something that we could apply for to kind of partner with our business districts. So think about that. And as it relates to how we get around Metro, we talked, the Safe Streets Committee had a meeting with Metro today, just a couple of the folks involved in transit. And we did talk about how Next Gen Bus, because we are going to have a significant change to our bus service. The only one keeping its number is the bus service that goes from PCC up Allen to New York Drive. After that, all of the transit services will be just like that line, local from Pasadena to Altadena, and also microtransit. So today, in talking to a lot of the folks over at Metro, they said that they will roll out, first of all, it's not official yet, so they're still taking public comments on how you want to see transit in Altadena. And then second, they will roll out the next gen as it relates to Altadena when they roll out the microtransit pilot. So again, Altadena has been selected. February 20th, I think, the Metro Board voted to then include, and it's not just Altadena, but it's primarily Altadena for microtransit and how it connects to Pasadena, La Cañada, and Sierra Madre. So this is an on-demand service that can support us moving in different ways. So I asked them if they can come and start joining us. We're going to be doing some complete street assessments with Cal Berkeley Safe Trek, along with the county, public health and public works, and anybody else who wants to get involved, and just studying our streets and how they are, how do they feel, and how they can benefit our community. So its success comes from community involvement. So at the end of the day, it's a perfect time for us to start thinking about transit, because when they implement the pilot next summer, we can't just see the pilot next summer, right? Because then we're not going, well, how do we move around? So I think these slow streets, complete streets, different ways of thinking about how we move around starting now, how we move around our schools, how we move around getting to our businesses, how we just move around going to the library. Like all of the transit lines that currently go past the main library are going away. So you will have to walk from the Triangle Park, which isn't that far, but you have to walk from the Triangle Park. Your access points will be Fair Oaks, a Lake, Altadena Drive. That will be the new transit. So that, whereas before, a lot of the transit actually made their way up Santa Rosa, Santa Anita, I think, and of course, along Mariposa. So keep your eyes open, because as we see where our density changes here in Altadena, parking is always an issue, right? We have more people using trails than ever before. Who knows what our schools are going to become. So it's really a time for us to think about how we move around. So I hope you choose to get involved in the Safe Streets Committee, and and obviously you guys are doing your work in your census tracts. So these slow streets could be a great opportunity to just feel your streets, have your community feel how they move around. And we do have a lot of families moving here to have children for the first time. That's how I'm gray-haired now. And I've been here 18 years, but we have a lot of new folks moving into Altadena and raising children. So thank you for listening.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Has there been any I guess, talk about paving the streets, repaving some of our streets?
I would say yes. So, and Veronica can answer this. Go, Veronica.
I know that they're starting on the west side of Altadena. They've already started, and they will be paving the entire west side in the next 3 to 4 months. Should be completed. So if you see white stripes and chalk and other markings, you don't know what they are, it's Public Works. They're getting ready to do the streets.
Has there been any talk about them paving your private roads or private streets?
They will not do private streets. That's one of the questions that was asked at the town hall. They will not do private streets.
I understand that private streets is the street itself is actually owned by the residents on that street, whereas in a non-private street, the street isn't owned by the residents, and that is why they won't pave a private street, because it's not owned by the county. It's actually owned by the residents.
But our tax dollars are still paying for those public streets also, the ones that we don't own. Those of us who are on private streets, our tax dollars are still paying for those other streets.
Right.
So
that's a good point and a good conversation.
It is
We had.
It's one we've been trying to make for the last 6 years.
Councilmember Markison.
Yeah, if I might interrupt. So Jennifer was bumped out of the meeting and is trying to get back in. Is there a way that she can go into a waiting room or something and you can let her back in, or should I tell her never mind?
That would be a question for Chloe, and if Chloe's listening, is that possible? We only have 2 more items and then we're actually done. So is that possible, Chloe, or do you have to unlock it to do so, and are we okay with unlocking it?
Oops, sorry.
I can just tell her it's not.
We have a council member that was kicked out and they wishing to come back in, and they're currently waiting to come back in, but again, because it's
I'll just
locked.
unlock for a second. Hold on.
Jennifer, okay.
Thank you. Okay,
Thank
in the meantime,
you.
I'm going to move on. Council Member Sutherlen with the Film Committee, item 6.4.
Yes, and I can be very short here. They started taking film permit applications yesterday. Film LA did. They haven't issued any permits yet, but it will be coming along soon. So this is a heads up that filming may start, but what it's going to look like and how soon it will be, I don't know. But y'all need to be aware that it's happening, because you may get questions from your residents, and the residents who may be watching this need to know too that filming will be starting, and if they have any questions, they can go to the council members. And please remember that the updated FAQs have been posted on the council website if you have questions. That's all.
Okay. Any questions? I guess we don't really have any answers to questions right now if we're still waiting to hear what the results will be from the Film LA. But if anyone does have a question for Councilmember Sutherlen, I'll go ahead.
Well, if I might real quickly. So I have a friend whose partner is a director, and the film industry is struggling because the actors have to get close to each other in order to act or kiss or hug or whatever. And so I don't know if there'll be a lot coming on right away, maybe exteriors and stuff, but yeah. So we'll just keep our eyes posted. Or
right. So at least somebody will know that it's beginning to happen whenever it happens. It won't be a big surprise.
We know it's coming, but we don't have a picture of it yet, right? Basically. Right. Okay. I'm going to move on to the item number 7, general public comments. I'm going to pass it over to Councilmember Sutherlen.
Okay. I have 2 comments that were given to me. The first one is from Joy Walters, and I'm going to read this to you. Did you know that the type of pollution generated by gas leaf blowers can increase your risk of complications or death from COVID-19? That is exactly what Harvard researchers concluded. According to a report issued this month, a small increase, 1 microgram, in the concentration of particulate air pollution means a big increase in COVID-19 deaths. This is extremely troubling since a single commercial gas leaf blower can produce 30 million micrograms every hour. Quiet Communities, Inc., a national nonprofit, has analyzed the research and concluded that given the health risks to the public, and especially to landscape workers, an immediate moratorium on the use of gas blowers is warranted. It is important to note that a moratorium will not affect the ability of landscapers to continue working during the pandemic. They are and should remain essential workers. The memo also contains a copy of Quiet Communities memorandum is attached and linked here. The memo also contains a longer-term plan to help everyone transition to greener and healthier alternatives. As Los Angeles County has some of the dirtiest air in the country, the continued use of gas-powered leaf blowers is making a bad situation worse. If any location in the United States warrants a ban on gas-powered leaf blowers, it is this county. I hope that you'll read the document and act to protect our health during this health crisis by asking Supervisor Catherine Barger to propose a ban on the gas-powered leaf blowers during this pandemic, and to ask Los Angeles Public Health Department to investigate the effects of leaf blowers on public health, hearing and respiratory especially. That was the first one. The second comment is from Lori Juma I forget where she is in Altadena, but she is in Altadena. In view of the tragedies and social pain that is spreading across our nation, I feel compelled to first express how proud I am of my community. Peace is always the answer. The cries for justice and obvious need for repair of the breakdown in relations with law enforcement should be met with a meaningful response. We all need to listen to each other. I am proposing the creation of a One Altadena, a community initiative to unite citizens, law enforcement, council members, and county representatives in a constructive dialogue about real concerns that embraces our differences and celebrates our unity by working to make changes where necessary to ensure we remain One Altadena, all citizens in harmony with each other. Providing a regular meeting platform where the community can express their concerns to government officials and law enforcement in a non-hostile forum could bring necessary change in a way that could be truly beneficial. The community also needs to listen to our law enforcement officials. Getting a chance to meet and get to know them as real people who also have real fears and worry about their lives too could create better understanding and respect. Government should help facilitate this opportunity to truly listen to each other. It is my belief that, like other communities across this nation, there are hidden tensions and perhaps anger too. Before any of that manifests itself in a negative outbreak of anger and rage, let's fix it. Let's welcome the idea of creating this dialogue through some scheduled agenda and meeting locations on a regular basis, perhaps quarterly. I appreciate your consideration. I'm willing to support this initiative in any way. I hope we can provide leadership and be an example to other communities in this great country of ours. I want our community to leave a legacy for our children that we did something about the problems and even stop them before they surfaced. Thank you for your serious consideration. Lori Juma. Thank you. Those are the two comments that I have. So that's all for this classification.
Thank you. And I'd just like to mention that we do encourage all public comments, and all publics will be read into record. And if the person making the public comments also leaves their contact information and their census tract, if it's specific to a census tract, then that census tract rep will also reach back to them with that information. So I just want to point that out. So please go ahead, make public comments, follow the protocol, and then somebody will reach back to you if you leave all your information and request to do so. All right, moving on. We don't have any census tract reports that were entered, nor none that was requested at the beginning of the meeting. I see Councilmember Wong hanging up, but there was no census tract reports requested at the beginning of the meeting. Am I right? Wrong? What's happening?
I'm sorry, I must have missed that. Can I just announce one thing?
Yes, go ahead. But what we want to do is, when we approve the agenda at the beginning of the meeting, if anyone does have a census tract report, in the future, let's just make sure that we ask that to be added at the beginning of the agenda so that we can adjust the agenda to suit and it matches the following minutes. In the meantime, this is today, so please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So again, I wanted to celebrate the amazing work that happened, Compassion for Black Lives Matter, Altadena, and attending the march from Loma Alta Park to Charles White Park was a very empowering experience. And so I just wanted to say that. And food, as we all know, is very important to us right now. So just again, on Wednesdays, every Wednesday, the Altadena Farmers Market is a Black-owned business. Stacy Whitney, and I am proud to help out. And obviously, the Farmers Market would love volunteer help. But just a reminder that EBT bundles, it's fruits and vegetables, are available, as well as low-income senior 65 and above. And there now has been a market orders. They're doing some delivery work, but primarily EBT bundles are available, and low-income senior 65 plus. Show your ID card, and you can get some amazing fruits and vegetables. Please come as early as you can. 1 o'clock is suggested. Thank you. Free bundles.
Thank you. I think that's it. There's nothing
Motion
else
to
on.
adjourn? Oh, were you calling for one? Sorry.
Yes, motion to adjourn. Councilmember Knapp just made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, second?
Dr. Thomas was first.
Okay, Dr. Thomas? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all those that wish to continue?
Chloe's at the top of the list.
So moved.